Have you heard? It's the most wonderful time of year. It's Christmas time. Oh, it's Christmas. Oh, it's Christmas. Oh, it's Christmas. It's Christmas by the lake. Since moving here, I haven't missed chaos in the city and the mess, slushed in the subway and all the rest of busy malls and streets. Bitter cold snow is on the ground, waiting for family to come around. Whisper of wind is the only sound. It's Christmas by the lake. It's Christmas by the lake. Time to celebrate. How does it get better than this? It's Christmas by the lake. Lucky to be beside you. I waited my whole life to find you. Can't believe you feel the same way too. Our life is such a treat. It looks so lovely in the night. Twinkle of stars and of the lights. Bundled up warm, we'll be alright. It's Christmas by the lake. It's Christmas by the lake. Time to celebrate. How does it get better than this? It's Christmas by the lake. It's Christmas by the lake. Time to celebrate. How does it get better than this? It's Christmas by the lake. It's Christmas by the lake. Time to celebrate. How does it get better than this? It's Christmas by the lake.
That is Christmas by the Lake. That is by Boiler Beach. Those guys are from Kincardine, Ontario. They've had a really good run this last little while. A lot of their music gaining a lot of popularity. And they're a party band that plays all over southwestern Ontario. I'm not sure what happened to my co-host tonight. I haven't heard from him. So he's MIA out in Halifax. Sean, if you're watching the show or you're aware the show's on, I'm not sure if you're coming on with me tonight or not. And if anybody else wants to join me, well, you might just have to, come on and join me. I can send you a link if you want. If you decide you want to join, you can join us in the chat room over there, and I'll take a look at what people are posting in the chat room. We're counting down to 2025, 2024. Don't know what kind of year it's been for you. It's been a bit of a weird year for me. A lot of different things going on, good, bad, and indifferent. Lots of great things with music. One of the things that I noticed about the Spotify Wrapped, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced that in terms of taking a look at your statistics that exist there. And that's a sort of a high level view of those stats, right? So it's kind of like a whole bunch of averages put together in terms of how many people are listening to your music, how many minutes are they listening to it, how many seconds are they listening to it, how many hours, how many days, months, and years, all that stuff. That is all part of the stats that get rolled up into Spotify Wrapped. The one thing that I noticed and I took great note of and starting to look a little deeper at, and of course this will be one of our probably one of our efforts in 2025. Well, I know it'll be one of our efforts in 2025 to move towards a more aggressive approach for marketing our artists' music. And what we did notice is that we've got a lot more engagement right across the board. Every single artist that's been active on the label has gotten a lot more engagement over the course of the year. And the engagement piece is really important because those are the people that come back to listen to music, when it's being put up every time. These are the people that will follow you across various platforms. So I don't know if iTunes has a specific place where you can follow people for getting releases. I've never really noticed it on iTunes, but Spotify has a very robust engagement piece for people that listen to music, to the point where you can give up your email address and be placed on a mailing list, so that every time that artist releases music, whether you're a Spotify subscriber or not is irrelevant. You can subscribe to Spotify for free and still get notifications every time your favorite artist publishes music, and then go to your favorite streaming service and stream it. Or if you want to go to our website, you can download it. That's even better. And a lot of these services, I know Spotify Premium as well as iTunes Premium, will allow you to download. And every time you download from your membership, that is a different piece of remuneration or royalties that go back to the artist. So bear in mind that downloads are always going to pay infinitely more than streams, which only pay, roughly a 16th of a cent per stream. I'm going to talk about that. And if anyone wants to join me in the chat room, you can. Don't see anybody in the chat room yet, but if you're watching and you want to join us in the chat room, by all means do that, because this is where we respond to questions and people have comments or thoughts about what is being discussed on the show. I see Warren Roberts watching. I'd love to bring him on the show tonight. There's a guy who knows a lot about music, and would love to have him on the show sometime to pick his brain, because he's probably forgotten more about music than I'll ever know. But there's some really, really great people out there that follow what we do. There's also a whole lot of people who watch the show here and learn from what is discussed on the show. It is supposed to be somewhat educational, and we're going to be doing a little more educating on December the 18th. Michael Brandvold will be joining us December the 18th. And it just occurred to me that Christmas actually falls on a Wednesday this year, the 25th. So there won't be a show here on the 25th of December for Christmas. There will be no Christmas show, because we're going to do that show up on the 18th of December with Michael Brandvold. That'll close out 2025 pretty much for us. And we'll be discussing everything about digital marketing. Michael is a consummate expert when it comes to digital marketing. He has been responsible for digital online presences of various artists, including Kiss, Ozzy Osbourne, Britney Spears, and there's a whole bunch more people that he's represented over the years, and work that he's done, everything from building websites to digital marketing for these artists. Alan Jackson is another one that comes to mind as well. So he has been deeply steeped in that, fairly cutting edge digital marketing. So we're going to have him on the show on December the 18th to talk about that stuff. We talked about the 11 hard truths of being a musician and all of the things that go into that whole thing. Hey, Brent, you know what? You can join me. I can send you an invite. I'd love to pick your brain tonight about some stuff. I haven't have a co-host. Sean has flown the coop. I'm not sure where he is. I hope he's all right, because that's not like him to not message me or not communicate with me. So I hope he's all right wherever he is. Maybe he got stuck in traffic. I know Halifax can have nasty traffic. Don't know what the weather's like out there either. Maybe he's holding on to his aerial. I'm not sure. I know he did have some internet issues last week. So could be some internet stuff going on. I'm not sure. Anyway, Brent, if you do want to join me, say so in the chat, and I'll be happy to send you a link. We're going to talk about more of these truths about being a musician. Sometimes I post some stuff and then I retract it. I posted something the other day, and I think it was Sean's comment to it was, if you don't like it, just scroll by it. The power of social media. If you don't like something that's really good. Thanks, Deanbo. Deanbo gave me an update. He says right now it's rainy, wet stuff, 12 degrees Celsius. He posted 3 hours ago on Facebook. I don't know. I'm not sure, but here we go. So, Deanbo, if you got another update on Sean, be happy to hear it. So talking about these, these truths, one of the things that I saw was a couple of unkind comments that a couple of people made, and I made a blanket comment, and I drew a bit of fire for it, and that's all right. It's a learning thing. Sometimes you post some things because you're really just trying to see who's mindful of it. And some people took offense to the post. Some people said, yeah, that's the way that it is. And some people were like, where did you read that? It's just stuff that you see that goes across social media, and you pick up on people's tone. The thing is that on social media, a lot of people communicate by words behind a keyboard, and it's really, really difficult to communicate feeling and intent and a whole lot of other things when you're, typing on a keyboard. I always hate email. I always like talking to people because that's a great way to figure out really what's going on. And I think people, thought maybe I was pointing a finger at them. I'm not sure, but I wasn't. Really, what I was just saying, we all need to check our attitude at the door, right? Everyone has an attitude. We all have our own stubborn streaks. We all have things about us that make us human. And admitting those things is part of personal growth as you move forward. And it doesn't just benefit you as a person, but it benefits you as an artist. Hey, GM. Hey, you want to join me, buddy? I need a co-host. We're 15 minutes in, and I'd planned the show to ping pong off somebody and have a conversation here about the topic at hand. But I'm going to continue to just, ramble on and kind of go through it and talk about, what I think we should be looking at going into 2025, at least some things that I found to be encouraging in 2024 that I think are going to be helpful in 2025. Numbers. So we talked about numbers on the show, and Michael and I. Oh, hey, Corinne. Hey, Trin, if you want to try and get a hold of GM and he's available to come on here for like 40 minutes, it'd be awesome to have him here. I'd like to pick his brain on this stuff. But as we head into 2025, you look at Spotify Wrapped. Those of you that have Spotify Wrapped, no doubt use Spotify for Artists. And if you're posting about Spotify Wrapped, I'm going to make a jump in logic and suggest that you probably are engaged at some level in your Spotify for Artists profile. So Spotify for Artists is a tool. It exists there for you to be able to help build your fan base organically and do different things. There's tools in there that they offer you that you can apply to any platform, any anything that you're doing, but they give some really great advice on how to build your following organically. And there's a whole lot of tutorials and other helpful things that are in there that can actually help you as an artist. And aside from the analytics, and they have great analytics about who's listening to your music, the demographic of the people that are listening to your music. There's breakdowns like that. Then there's breakdowns that come from the publishing side of my company, where we pull analytics that actually look at real-time statistics in terms of payouts by streaming services. And that gets really interesting when you start getting into the analytics of how different streaming services pay out and how they pay out differently in some countries than others. So there's definitely a pay scale. Ha ha ha. Corinne says, GM would love to join you again, but isn't available tonight. Of course, where is everybody? Everybody's off there. Well, you know what? I'm going to speak out. And if you have got a few things there in the chat room, feel free to speak up about those things. So the analytics of music become really important to help you to grow an organic following. Now, here's a cool thing that I noticed about the majority of artists on our, and I'm going to use our record label as an example. So every artist that was active this year, I mean artists that were actually releasing music, they didn't have to be touring, but they were actually releasing music in 2024. They all got some really interesting stats. And the cool thing about being able to offer up new content on an ongoing basis throughout the year. So as an artist, putting out 4 singles a year or 5 singles a year, you don't have to release a whole album over the course of the year. It's all about regularity with engagement and taking that one track and using it to its max. Like, you can actually look at thinking about how you max out, your marketing. And there's a lot of artists that are on our label that also do a great job of marketing themselves. Boiler Beach is a perfect example of that. Take a look at their marketing. Take a look at some of the stuff they do. I think Terry's kind of responsible for getting, the band in front of different people, and they're involved in cable television, and they've had a documentary done on them by, I think it was Rogers or one of those companies. And that level of engagement has helped serve them really well when looking at the number of regular listeners they have on their Spotify alone. So, given that Spotify and iTunes monopolize the majority of streaming statistics, and the majority of people have subscriptions to iTunes, and Apple Music offers discounts to you if you have other Apple products. So we have Apple TV. We stream movies and television shows. They have all kinds of great retro television shows, commercial free, that you can go and stream off Apple streaming services. And they also give you a discount for iTunes if you sign up for their streaming services, and they have bundle packages and stuff like that. So, streaming is here to stay. It is not going to change. We just have to try and figure out a way to monetize it better. And we have to challenge the status quo over time. But that's going to be a thing over time. Right now, the major record labels dominate all the negotiations with major streaming services, and independent artists don't really factor into that equation, right? So you've got all these influential people making all the decisions for everybody in terms of what the remuneration is going to be across the board for all artists on all streaming services. But we did notice when we did a breakdown on that, I hope I'm not losing people here, because this is really important. When we did the breakdown on that statistic, we looked at specifically What country did those streams come from? And what we also noticed that from country to country, there is a different level of remuneration. Sometimes 4 or 5 times the level of remuneration. And I can only look at that now without a deeper dive and say that has something to do with the market share that country has for that streaming service. It's got to be something to do with market share. Now, here's an interesting thing I was looking at today. Spotify, when they went public in 2018 and sold stock in 2018 to the public stock market, I think they went on for like $160 some odd a share. It's like $467 a share now. So fast forward that. Okay, so we got 2018 to 2024, 6 years. In 6 years, anybody that bought Spotify stock, it quadrupled. Your Spotify stock quadrupled in 6 years. Now, by the rule of sevens, you double. That was quadruple in 6 years. So there is money to be made in music, but it may be also on the investment end. So, you know what? Maybe look into buying shares of these companies because now you're part owner. And so you're not only getting royalties, but you're also going to get share dividends. It's another way of looking at revenue as an artist. Just like, we know that merch and live shows always pay the best, right? Always pay the best. We got a question here. All right, this is a good one, and don't feel free to ask questions here. Boiler Beach, you're watching. Ask him questions. If Terry's there, he can definitely ask me questions. Is it a reflection of how much each service charges for the subscriptions? Higher subscription charge to listeners equals higher payout to artists. I think that the payout differential comes to premium programs, where the artist will get a premium, where others will get a premium on that payout. So, for example, free subscription services, you're probably going to earn money on streams, but not what you're going to make off of people who are streaming your music off of their favorite streaming service. The other thing is that comes to mind with that is that it also comes down to how many times people download the song and put it in their library versus just stream it. So streaming pays out, has one payout value, and an add to a library has another value that's attached to it. That's one of the things we've noticed from publishing payouts is that when someone downloads the song into their musical library on their favorite streaming platform, you get a different level of remuneration for that. It's treated like, someone bought that track. So it's a definite difference in terms of payout, but also premium subscription plans pay you better than any unpaid ones. Another reason that we get more engagement is that we're also able to track the artist's music across the internet by the fact that we encode every single track that gets released from TUNZ Records. So we encode every single track with an international standard work code, which is the code that proves that written work belongs to the writer. So that gives the writer 100% publishing rights to their music. That's the publishing side of the written work itself. The second is the recording itself, which is an ISRC, which is an International Standard Recording Code, which is a completely different code used to track the track for different purposes. Part of that is payout, royalty payout. Royalty payout that might not come by the way of services like DistroKid and CD Baby and TuneCore and Ditto, any of those out there, they collect the royalties that they're able to collect based on licensing agreements that they have in order to collect those royalties. But there are royalties rights collection societies out there that you can register your music. Now, we make sure that our artists get registered because that is another way to guarantee that you're squeezing every last drop out of your royalties. That makes sense? So this is why people come to me to help them market their music, because this isn't just about getting the music in front of the right people. It's about publishing the music in a way that it maintains its integrity 100%, that ownership can be proved 100%, and that we can squeeze every fraction of every royalty out of every track that ever gets released, because sometimes tracks find themselves other places. So, for example, we have artists who are getting, oh, I don't like it. I'm getting these stupid notifications from Google and I can't shut them off. New computer, new learning curve. So here's the thing. Okay, Terry, well, fire away, buddy. So we are at a point of looking at how do we maintain the integrity of an artist's music, and that is making sure that the artist's works are embedded. So these are the recorded tracks, and that they're embedded with a specific data set of metadata that goes into each track. That's embedded in the track, including the artwork gets burned into the track as well, digitally. So this is all about protection of that digital work. And so we have artists who are getting music played on Sirius XM radio, and their music is being picked up off streaming services. And now here's the interesting thing. Some of these radio stations have licensing agreements, so they can find your music and play it, download it directly, play it on their Brent wants to come on the show. No, I'm going to send you an invite, Brent, and I've got to go back over here and copy a link invite. I've got to go to my email and send Brent an email and say, hey, Brent, come join the show. So here we are. I'm just putting that in it's right at the top there, Brent. There you go, buddy. I just sent it to you. He's going to get that real quick. I know he is. So making sure that the digital fingerprint of the music is intact. That digital fingerprint is a way of identifying that track as belonging to the artist and only the artist. And so no matter where that music ends up, it has a digital fingerprint. And if there are royalties payable for plays on that music, we'll be able to collect them. And that is another way of maximizing, these things. Being able to maximize resources and maximize your return on your investment. So an investment, well, what would you think that is in terms of being a musician? What are you willing to invest in your music? I know you invest your blood, sweat, tears in your music. I know you invest financially into music if you're doing you're doing the whole studio thing. There's Brent right there. There he is. Hey, buddy.
How are you?
I am awesome. I'm so glad you came on, man.
Hey, I was trying to get on. I couldn't figure shit out again. I'm a friggin' spode. I'm a spode sometimes.
You use that word internet spode all the time.
Well, at least it's iced tea tonight instead of beer.
You got lots of light on you tonight, man. You look like an angel with all that white
That's
light
what I
on
was
you.
trying to work on that because the last couple times, like it looked like I had, bags under my eyes so bad it was ridiculous. And it was the lights on the ceiling, so I was just fooling around. I'm sorry I missed the start of the show.
No worries, no worries, buddy. So I'm getting into like publishing, things going into 2025 that make us stronger in terms of how we work to collect royalties off artist music, right? And you and I had a conversation way back, and maybe you remember it, maybe you don't, and it was about royalties rights collection societies.
And well, I'm not exactly sure specifically what you're talking about.
Well, okay, so one of those royalties rights societies, you decided to sign up to it, and you decided to put your whole repertoire up on that, and you got out of nowhere, you got a royalty check.
Oh, do you mean Sound Exchange?
Yeah, when you decided to register with Sound Exchange.
That worked really good, really
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and you and I, since that point in time, investigated several other points and places to register an artist's repertoire because they all collect royalties in different territories.
Yeah, there's some question between what is it, ASCAP and BMI that I could never get it changed after I registered with SOCAN.
Yeah,
I wanted to change it from because I just went with ASCAP,
right.
and apparently BMI is the big one.
Well, BMI's been. I got to think about it. ASCAP is actually, I think, bigger, but BMI has been around the longest. And being around a long time, you learn a lot of things about the music industry, how to collect royalties. And that's why I think BMI is a royalty rights collection society could do a better job than maybe others like CSAC or maybe even ASCAP. But it varies.
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I did notice the one royalty check that I got. It was a special, different check than your normal royalty checks, and it included only satellite radio, and it was the big three satellite radio stations.
Yep.
It looked to me, and for what I read, that they kind of got caught not paying royalties after spinning songs, right? And I think that SOCAN or Sound Exchange or somebody caught them not paying royalties, and all of a sudden there was a special check out of the ordinary, and the statements always include where the royalties came from, right?
Yeah,
who
American stations, from my understanding, I think Michael Brandvold will probably clarify this for us on December the 18th when he's on the show. But if I remember a conversation with him correctly, American stations are really bad at either collecting royalties, and a lot of them are not even compliant.
Yeah, so that one check, it had what are the three big like I don't have satellite radio, so I like if you named them, I would say yes or no. It was the big three, right? And it was a nice check. It was like they all had to pay up like right away, and I love Sound Exchange for that, and that's in U.S. dollars too. Woohoo!
Yeah, it's an interesting thing about how royalties end up getting paid out for artists, and a lot of times it's because people become compliant. One of the things that I want to point out is that a lot of internet radio stations are license compliant. They purchase a streaming license from SOCAN or ASCAP or BMI, and whoever they purchase the licensing agreement from to be able to play artist music on their station, those artists get paid royalties through that process because they're registering with a licensing body to have the right to be able to broadcast that music. So, I think
Well,
we're going to. I think we could see royalties coming through internet radio.
well, I mean, is internet radio actually like they're playing all the newest stuff? But have you heard of any examples of uh, internet radio turning a song into a major hit song? Like, has that ever even happened?
Well, some of them chart, right? I mean, some of them have various charts where
Well,
they
chart
chart.
on, yeah, like I guess that's what I would mean is chart on actual live broadcast FM radio, right?
Yeah, some of them actually do chart the music and look at what's getting more popularity, what's getting more hits. There's other things too where I think that internet radio could be really, really helpful to artists. And what I would prefer, or just as much, aside from them paying licensing to be able to play artist music on their internet radio stations, if they were just to direct their listeners to the artist's music, where their artist music lives. Like, why not do that, right? We got a comment here.
I suppose I was I kind of drifted off because I was reading some of the comments. Somebody said, "Can you use the word spode in a sentence?" Yeah, it's not it's not supposed to be that way.
Brent's word "spode" means you don't get it. You're not getting it. You're not doing it right.
Well, we made fun of ourselves. Like, I'm such a friggin' spode. Why did I do that way? Right?
Didn't you have a band? Didn't you have a band called the Spodes?
Yes, you were called the spodes.
We're for in the new year we'll play the Spodes videos.
Yeah, the Happy New Year 2013 and 2014.
Yeah, we'll play those back to back on shows in the new year.
Yeah, I had Nick sing the second version, the second time around, right?
Really, that'd be fun. Terry says internet radio plays everything, including mainstream songs, depending on the station and the show. That's correct. That is absolutely correct. What we want to do too is not just get your music on shows, because getting your music on shows sometimes only gets it aired a few times. What we want to do is get your music on rotation.
I think I wanted to say that, but I didn't say it. I'm such a fucking spode.
So, I mean, and here's the thing. Brent, like Boiler Beach, has had good fortune shopping his music around to radio stations and interacting with radio personalities. You got interviews out of those deals. You've been able to interact with people that follow My Wicked Twin in different ways.
Yeah, and then I run out of energy, to do all that stuff and to take care of all that stuff. I don't know if it's got to be my age.
Well, part of it's age, but I mean, you're also a survivor, man.
Yeah, well, I was actually working on a video today, as we had discussed late last week, I think.
Oh yeah, we were working on a whiteboard for your video.
And I wasted most of the day in AI. Fuck. Talk about frustrating. Oh my God.
I think, are you going to use just AI, or are you going to do like actual footage?
Well, I took pictures of myself and threw it into AI, right?
Right.
Except the AI people that I am subscribed to and have paid money to. Now they went and changed the whole friggin' site. Like everything is like, geez, gag me with a goon. Jeez.
We came up with some really good ideas for that video, because the video is called Nobody Approved. And we the songs out there. Actually, have we released that song?
No.
So that song is yet to be released. Nobody Approved. But you're working on a video called Nobody Approved, which is the actual soundtrack.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Like when you write songs with the lyrics of their thoughts in your mind, um, and you're trying to create a video, to take it from mind thoughts into images in this case is really hard. Why I usually try to write lyrics and paint pictures in this song. For some reason I didn't, because I'm a spode, right?
But that's why you and
Now
I.
now it's really hard to come up with the images that match what the lyrics are saying, because they're thoughts of the mind. They're thoughts.
But that's why you and I collaborated on this, right?
Yeah, I kept all my notes. I was working off of them today.
Well, you know what? If you want another session, we could go back at it again, because, like I said, those visuals, to try to create some of those visuals for those lines and those scene transitions, I think is key to getting the message of the song across.
Yeah, it's that same old book that I read about lyric writing, and they said don't write down. I gave my my girlfriend a flower. You say, you write down, I gave my hot bitch a ruby red rose, right? That's what they tell you to paint with colors, right? Or write your lyrics with color, like as if you were painting, so that it creates images. I always refer to the Smashing Pumpkins as lyric images. That's the best band name I've ever heard in my life.
Visuals. I mean, creating visuals in there is that other part that becomes that really cool part of the video itself, right? Once the
Yeah.
video breathes some life.
So then, if I wouldn't have been struggling with learning new software with the site that completely changed, and I was just starting to get it at the end of the day, but I was going to polka my eyes out, so I stopped. Right?
I was gonna poker my eyes. It would have felt good, right? Compared to what you were dealing with there.
I was just trying to finally getting it I basically wasted almost a whole day, but tomorrow I'll probably start getting on it in a good way again, because, and I've been checking out, use all these free AI sites
Right.
on YouTube. Yeah,
Right.
they print watermarks. What good is the footage then?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, eh? I mean, you look at it and you go, I'm trying to get to this.
And that's the other thing with AI. You never know what you're going to get. Just because you prompted that in there doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get what you asked for, right?
Right.
And that's just really, really time consuming. So with my AI, I don't try to create a whole story. I just go 6 seconds at a time, which is generally sometimes just one sentence, right?
Right.
So that's what I try to do. You save time and money if you only go 6 seconds at a time when you go to render your AI mini video, right?
Well, here's an interesting thing. So in 2024, your music, My Wicked Twin, traveled to 53 countries.
That's great.
Now, If you didn't belong to streaming services, would you have ever been heard in those countries?
I don't know. Like I told you, Ken, like I don't even own a smartphone. Never have.
So
So
you've been,
like I never go on Spotify or any of those other apps because I don't even own a smartphone.
so your
So
music's been heard in 53 countries over the last year, right?
right.
Um, and
Fantastic.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's fantastic.
Here's a couple more stats. These came out of your Spotify Wrapped, okay?
Okay.
So your music was listened to in 2024. It got listened to for 27,000 minutes.
Awesome. Friggin' awesome.
Uh, and if you want to put that down to hours, your music was listened to for over 460 hours. That means people listen to your music for almost an hour every day.
That's cool. That's cool.
I know. And
I,
so without those statistics, we wouldn't find ways to encourage artists. These give us benchmarks to work on for the next year. Think if we double that number and you get 54,000 listening minutes next year, that means that people have listened to your music at least for 2 hours a day.
that'd be great. That'd be really
Somebody in the world, somebody in those countries has listened to your music a number of times in that day. Maybe your music is in their playlist. Because if we go down and we delve down into the stats, I think My Wicked Twin got added to something like 55 playlists last year.
that's awesome. I think that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's 55 playlists you weren't on before.
True enough.
Now, one of the things that
What
we've
can I do? What can I do with those playlists then? Is there something I can do to promote more My Wicked Twin somehow? Or
well, I'm gonna for artists that want to learn more marketing ideas, I'm willing to do like a private tutorial to go through some marketing ideas with you, because there's some things that came up and I found some really, really great marketing tools that you as an artist can use, because this is your music. This is that part where, this is beyond skin in the game. We got a couple of comments here. Let me see here. Here we go. Deanbo's got a point here. I thought if I was to say at my local beverage store and hear music being played, somehow I'm able to FaceTime Brent while there and show the manager who I'm talking to and say he would like you to play his music in your sound system every Friday. That would be cool. We have a Green Ink. Green Ink was included in those stats this year, and that's my project. We got a lot of reach this year, which was really, really kind of cool, right? And we had, about 800 regular listeners over the course of the year. Now, you only need 1,000 regular people following you to really help your music to grow organically, because then they start sharing those lists with other people. And we played a show on last Saturday night.
I saw you were a sharp dressed man, bro.
We played a live show last Saturday night. And one of the guys at the show said, I was over at his place the other day and he was listening to Green Ink on iTunes.
That's cool.
And I was like, really? People are downloading our music into their libraries? And like, yeah. And we looked at it, and I'm just going to give you some quick stats on your music, Brent, because there's a couple of things that I thought were really, really cool about what was happening with My Wicked Twin. Where's the stats? Here we go. Go back over to here. So like 460 hours of listening, right? That's a lot of listening to your music over the course of the year. right? And you had just around 1,000 regular listeners of your music over the course of the year. So that was your average listenership, was about 1,000 listeners.
Did you tell me that if you can get 1,000 followers, things change in Spotify for you?
Well, that's where and that again, remember, this is only Spotify stats alone. If iTunes has a good share of the market as well, then I would say the majority of your listeners, you could almost double your listeners on iTunes, because you're probably going to have as many listeners on iTunes if you do Spotify. Although there's no guarantee, because I don't always see that split when I see the payouts, that there's an equal
Okay.
number of people listening on iTunes. Some people, like one particular band I know, has really, really high Spotify stats, and it's because the majority of their fans have Spotify subscriptions. They're U.S. citizens and they have Spotify subscriptions, so they listen to their music on Spotify Premium.
So Ken, because you're the publisher,
Yeah.
is it somehow that you can log into iTunes and Spotify, and you can see these inside stats? Where is that why that is, that because you're the publisher?
Yeah, there's stats I get from the publishing side of things that give me even more information. Countries. One of the things that we notice is that certain countries, payouts are better in those countries than they are in some others, and it's likely due to market share. Sometimes
You figure it'd be the same in all countries, right?
it's not, and when I break it down by song, the payout per song from one country to another can vary as much as 6 times.
Well, whatever country pays the highest, that's what they should all be.
That might be that, but if that's a country that you've already got penetration into, right?
Okay.
That's a country where you might want to grow more followers, because those followers streaming your music is going to equal 6 times the amount you were making off the lowest paying streaming service. Right?
Okay.
So
I-
now, so
I
now
got-
all,
Oh,
so now
go ahead.
all of a sudden you could be earning, greater fractions of a cent per stream instead of, minuscule fractions, 16th of a cent versus, maybe upwards of a half a cent per stream.
Well, I
Penny,
get my music from YouTube and from the college radio station.
well,
That's where I
pennies,
get all my music from.
pennies actually add up. Pennies actually add up, and I'll give you an analogy to that. A friend of mine back in days gone by had a software company. Long story short, they sold the software company. Well, they didn't sell the software company. What they did was they invented this software that was a online trading software. The client wanted the software, wanted to buy them the software. They said, no, we're not going to sell the software. Well, what do you want? We want a penny per trade, right? The day that went live, there were multiple millions of trades a day. And within 6 months, all 3 partners in that company were multimillionaires.
I want to do that. Let's
I
do
mean,
that.
isn't that crazy? And that's how crazy life can go, right? Here they had a piece of software that was for online trading. They didn't sell the software; they sold it by how many streams it got, literally, how many times someone did a trade. So if you're making upwards of a cent per stream, and you can get hundreds of thousands of streams, hundreds of thousands of pennies starts adding up quicker.
Oh, for sure.
It's not going to be a utopia, but there's a better way. Those are things that have to dive deep into the stats with, and that's like a major meeting with each artist. Terry
Well,
says which countries.
High Boiler Beach people.
Yeah.
And the other thing is a lot of these people, or I can only really speak for myself, but I don't actually really do it for the money. I just want people to hear my lyrics, right?
Yeah, you want to get you got your idea was to get your music out in front of as many people as you could. And here is another attitude that I think people need to carry going into 2025. Streaming services. Well, they are not set up to make you, an independent artist, a lot of money. What they are set up to do is to give you reach and discovery. Okay. So we talked about Brent's music being played in 53 countries. Now, if we weren't using streaming services to upload his music, do you think his music on the old analog system would already be heard in 53 countries?
No, I don't think it would have got down to Windsor from where I'm at.
That's the power of the internet, right? The
Yeah.
power of the internet is that now you have people listening in 53 countries, right?
Yeah.
Now you look at how many countries do you think are listening to Helix music?
Oh, jeez.
How many countries would you think? You're in 53 countries.
Really?
How many
So,
countries do you think Helix is being heard in?
I don't know, 200?
167 countries.
Really, eh?
There's 167 countries listening to Helix music, and if you break it down, you know where the majority of those countries lie, don't you, Brent? Because you toured there.
They're probably Europe.
They're all European. Most of them are European. But you know what? Here's a cool thing. If Helix made the right contact in the U.S., there's a whole lot of U.S. people that love Helix.
Well, we played probably almost every friggin' state except like Alaska and Hawaii.
Yeah, you could play down and like Helix could get shows in all those casinos and all those places. Georgia, Atlanta. They could probably play a lot of those places because there's Americans that still follow Helix, and it's evident on their social media.
Yeah, I wish the Helix guys would get on the casino tour down in the States there, and I'd like to see Brian make a bunch of money because he sure does deserve it.
Yeah, I would love a booking agent to pick them up and tour them throughout all the casinos across the U.S. because that would be a major tour.
Yeah. Well, I always liked, some of the casinos we played when I was still with Helix. It was just unbelievable. Like the Mohegan Sun in,
Right.
I think it's in Connecticut. That's the biggest casino on the Eastern Seaboard.
Wow.
And it was just unbelievable. I think they get something like 60,000 people a weekend there every weekend.
Yeah, casinos
Like it's unbelievable.
casinos are profitable. I mean, the downside is that and we're right at our hours, so we're not going to stay too much longer here. But the downside of it for Canadian artists going to the States, it's harder for a Canadian artist to tour the U.S. than it is for a U.S. band to come up here. And that's
Yeah,
because
I know. You're
that's
not kidding.
that's because of work permits, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the American bands can just drive up here and play, but the Canadian musicians got to jump through like flaming hoops of fire to try and cross the border and go and work, right?
Yeah, it makes it difficult because there's a lot of really great shows and festivals down in the U.S., places where you can get reach and discovery.
Yeah, so I think that we used to have to hire immigration lawyers to do the paperwork to get us across the border.
Right.
And then as the U.S. tightens all their rules and regulations, it's becoming harder and harder, right?
Yeah, not an easy thing, man. Not an easy thing. So going into 2025, I want to close with this and say that streaming services are also as much about discovery and reach. And the cool thing about it is that in there with discovery and reach, you get a really cool thing called engagement. We're going to talk about engagement throughout the rest of this year and why engagement is so important to you as an artist in terms of people connecting with your music and sharing your music with other people. Because essentially, these are just the same as file sharing services like Napster and LimeWire before them. The only difference is they're, more regulated now and they actually pay. So
Did you
here's
say
an opportunity.
LimeWire?
What's that?
Did you say LimeWire?
Yeah, LimeWire was another one, and there was a couple
I
others.
never heard of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, LimeWire was almost as big as Napster.
Okay.
Anyways, moving into 2025, we're going to talk more about that. Brent, the Dr. Durner, thanks for joining me tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. It was short, I guess.
You filled in for Sean. That was really cool. I don't know what happened to Sean. I haven't heard from him. I hope he's all right. Have a good rest of your week, everybody. This has been the Indie Show. I'm Kenny. You're not. Have a great end to your week.